In so many
Oh
ways,
yeah.
man,
Man,
Howard saved me. I love it.
that's
You know,
right.
I'll talk about Howard amongst family, but outside of that, I will
It
not.
just make you strong.
Yes.
There you go.
Howard made us strong.
Yeah.
There you go.
And made me patient, for sure. Built
Through our experiences, through our choice to be understanding and to learn together, we built and decided that we would be family. And we're choosing to have lifelong friendship as a result of that choice.
applied for Howard, man. But like I said, prior to it, I was stuck, man. Lost myself for a bit. Lost my identity, if you will. Howard, man, it made me gain all that back. My strength, identity, courage, that pride again.
Welcome back to Symbiosis. We are excited to be back on the screen again. Last episode, we introduced who we are and where we've been. Today, we want to go deeper. We want to talk about becoming. We want to talk about what happens when who you're becoming no longer matches what the people around you expect you to be. The goal today is not agreement. The goal is relationship, honesty, and growth. And we definitely are in a period of growing. I will say that for sure. Got some stuff that we've right, bro.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with. Anyway. Fellas, good to see you. Very good to see you,
man.
Likewise,
Yes,
brother.
sir.
Likewise.
Yes, sir. Tell me something that has caused you to see things or think about things or something differently.
I'll say like roles within the family. I think that like we talk in social work about roles that pretty much like maybe given to you or roles that you step into that nobody actually asked you to step into. So when we talk about becoming, I have very significant personal experiences about becoming, and not like when your parents would say, hey, I think that you should be this or something like that. But in my situation, I'm talking about maybe like in my marriage, like relationship wise, there's a certain expectation that your wife may have for you. And that's kind of what growing in the marriage is all about, because you meet this person who you're willing to grow with and hopefully not grow, away from each other. And what was happening, I come from a very like poor family. It was something that I tried to hide pretty much like all of my life. And I think that what happened was when I saw a void, I tried to fill it without actually someone saying, hey, this is what you should do. So family had become very dependent on me. And what I mean by that could be financial, that could be pretty much anything. But what I found myself doing was I wasn't so much neglecting my marriage or things that was going on at home, but I was spreading myself too thin until my wife felt like she was in competition with my family. And that's one thing you don't want to do with your wife is have her thinking that she in competition, with something. Cause, as a man, you want to, we try to take care of things. We like problem solvers. We want to go and we want to fix things. However, sometimes we could do too much. And, that was something that my wife wasn't understanding. Like she met me, I was, taking care of my family. So, going through the girlfriend stage, there was never like a real conversation. She's like, oh, what you doing or whatever. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm sending a couple $100 over here. Somebody needs something or whatever. But it was never expressed. And we've talked about that in the past as far as like communication. But getting back to that, I had to learn to acknowledge her feelings and see where she was coming from. And that was something that I had to change because it came to a point to where my wife was like, hey, this is not working. I checked out a couple years ago. I just been kind of here existing. So I had to do like some soul searching, like, okay, Steve, like, what are we doing? Like, and I had to come to realization, yeah, you messing your life up, dude. Like, you're doing too much. You're spreading yourself thin because, you find a wife and you're supposed to go off and build a relationship with them and take care of them and build this life. But when you still got your foot somewhere else, you're never truly really there. So that was something that I had to come to terms with as far as like, honoring my wife, honoring what she was saying, and actually being there for her. And and don't get me wrong, she was never the one to be like, don't help your family and stuff like that. It's just sometimes our significant others, spouses, partners, whoever we may be with, can sometimes stand on the outside and see things going on that we may not see. So I had to learn to trust her and trust her judgment. And for that, I think that we are better today. And she loves me much more today. She's seen my growth.
Was it
So
hard for you to admit?
absolutely. And it took a while to change. It wasn't something that happened overnight. There were some steps. I had to have some hard conversations with people that I loved to tell them, hey, I can't help this time or this and that. And that was something that I had to learn to do. I'm glad I did it because my marriage is better. And also the parties who were, so to speak, in need and I was running to the rescue, they're in a better place as well now. So in a way, I could have just been crippling the situation by continuing to do what I was doing.
That's actually pretty brilliant, according to the topic that we're talking about today, because I think that that's very aligned with how the systems that we're in. I've been leaning into the concept of family systems, right? And allowing them to operate as systems. We'll talk more about that later, but Denzel, what's your response?
Honestly, man, it's not something that I could pinpoint, to tell you the truth, but I'm glad Steve-O said what he said because I can certainly resonate with it, man, and piggyback off of it because I've been there, done that, and kind of just coming out of it. Like he said, man, we are givers, fixers, and personally, man, I'm a servant and I'm a giver. I always want to serve. You know what I mean? So 10 years into our marriage, now I'm just really starting to learn. Took me a while. Now I'm just starting to learn how to kind of step back and prioritize some things, realign myself. Because for the longest, man, so involved in church, right? So church was priority. Nothing's wrong with that. However, it was taking up so much of my time with family. So it was being so involved in my church, so involved in my work before I moved here, being a director at a nonprofit that took up a whole lot of my time. That was my priority. When we would go on vacations, it remained priority. I would still be at my laptop responding to emails and working on templates, working on budgets, this and that. But even outside of that, it bled over into family. You know what I mean? Extended family and my responsibility to them or how much they depend on me or look to me for certain things. You know what I mean? So just like Steven said, his wife had to have that kind of difficult conversation with him. Same thing my wife had to do with me.
Bro, I'll never forget that conversation. It was
Yeah.
in front of my house. I was sitting in the rocking chair. I was on the right side. She was on the left side. We were just rocking.
Yeah.
And we was kind of trying to see where we were going, And I was just like, look, do you still want to be with me?
Yeah.
And the silence.
It's not a
silence
good
is what got
conversation
me.
to be had. It's
No,
not.
because she was
It's
like,
not.
I don't know.
Right.
So that put me in a whole different place, man. I was
Right.
just like, you don't know? And
Right.
I'm thinking I'm doing it because,
Right.
because I'll go and I can multitask. I can do both of these
Everything's
things,
taken
but
care of. Right.
right. But obviously I was neglecting her and not even knowing it.
Same here. And, we weren't giving them that time that they so much desire. And,
Right.
women are built differently than men. Women crave and they desire for that time. It's not the material things. It's with them, it's more so time. And so, I was giving to others, but by the time I got home, man, I was on empty. I didn't have a whole lot to give. And like I said, I was going to church, I was going to work, it was going to extended family. But by the time I get to the house, man, I'm worn out and my wife is only able to get about 10% of me. And then, I need to go lay it down. So, our relocating to Texas has helped a whole lot with that. But when you kind of push yourself away from family, they can't be as dependent on you as they once were. I'm not as involved as I was in the church here, like I was back home. I've just been more intentional with priorities. At the end of the day, this is my priority, my household, my wife and my son. This has to come first. My wife and my son and everything else. But I don't want to speak out of term as if I'm saying, I shouldn't be putting in a whole lot of time and energy and
in church. That's certainly not what I'm saying, but you still have to have priorities in place.
I think it's important that even the godliest man be reminded that as much as you want to not forsake the assembly, the first assembly is your household.
Mm.
You may not be the pastor, you may not be the minister or the elder in the church, but you are the head of the household.
Yeah.
You are the pastor.
You are the priest of your home.
You are
Yeah.
the priest of that. So your responsibility, and this is something that I think that I may have dropped the ball in my younger years when I was married to my ex-wife.
Mhm.
I didn't understand that concept. I didn't
Really?
understand the real idea of pastoring my home to ensure that principles and precepts
Mhm.
were established and understood, and we operated out of those.
Right. Do you think your youth had a lot to do with that?
It had a lot to do with it. And it also had, I had my own issues that I've had to process. That's another episode, bro, for me.
Did you mirror what you saw as a kid?
No,
That's the
I
better
had
question.
a mixture of that. Yes, maybe, could be, very possible. Because my dad was present and he was a good dude, but he was also not churchy. Mom was absolutely the ministering presence in our household.
Okay.
So I was following her lead when it came to spiritual things.
Mhm.
Okay.
Dad was and is, even though he's now a bit more churchy,
Mhm.
and now he goes to church more regularly. He's
Okay.
not churchy, he is not.
Yeah.
But he was practical. He was logical, a right mind. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
He's not thinking creatively. He's not thinking. And so I sit smack dab in the middle of those. I was just talking to my brother yesterday and his wife and my partner. We were just kind of having a little chit chat, and we came to officially establish with clarity, my brother looks like my mother, but acts exactly like my father. And I look like my father and act identical to my mother. And I'm not surprised. I don't think that either of us are surprised at that, but it definitely gives perspective on how we process.
Mhm.
But yeah, I find it really intriguing that you guys went the way that you went, and the fact I'm intrigued by the fact that Stephen, you went that direction, and Denzel, that you piggyback off of what he said as what has changed recently and its roles, because that's exactly what's happened with me. And it's just been, I almost want to say, since the last time we linked up for our last podcast recording. Since then, I think what I have had to adjust to is I'm not going to be able to be the same presence in my family, because I'm in that sandwich generation right now where my 80 and 83-year-old parents need me to
Yeah.
step up in a capacity that says, I'll help carry this, mom and dad. I know that you have carried this type of weight for all of my life plus, but now I'll help carry in a much more present way.
So you're taking on a parental role to your parents now? That's what we kind of say down here sometimes.
To a degree, yes. But the thing about it is that I'm trying to be careful not to do that. I'm being intentional not to take away their autonomy and not to take away their
self-determination.
I want to
right.
give them that freedom and that space to go ahead and feel that they are just as independent.
Right.
But a lot of those, with that independence comes the weight of all of the things, the weight of their physicality, the weight of their cognitive, the weight of their finances, the weight of their house, all of those. And that's weight that,
A safety net. You're a safety net.
They just need additional support, sounds like.
well, what I've come to understand is, and let me go ahead and finish that complete thought, because like I said, sandwich generation. So I have them there and I have my young men, because they're not kids no more,
Mhm.
and my ex-wife, who is my ex, but that's still my part of my family system. And recognizing that I still have the responsibility of making sure that everything is still intact, that everybody is still functioning in their proper places in the family, and learning how to distribute the weight, because everybody is feeling the overwhelm, right? Everybody is feeling that pressure of their individual issues, and yet not recognizing, because this is what I'm recognizing that I do have. I have a lot of strong people in my family, and we have a lot of potential individually. That's great. That's wonderful to be able to say we're not in a deficit of ability or capabilities. But especially, and this is what I've come to realize in this economy, in this administration, in this current state of the world, we really can't look to the right and to the left to expect that anybody outside of that system to really be able to hold up or support us. It's going to take us. We have to sustain ourselves. We have to find a way to distribute the weight so that each individual doesn't feel like they're carrying the weight of the entire family on their own shoulders. We have to share that. And I can't be in the same role that I was when I was their son. I can't be in the same role that I was when I was raising them as young kids. I have to now step into a different role. And because I have to whom much is given, much is required. So I've learned a lot in the past 4 or 5 to 10 years, but at least within the past 4 since I graduated and all those different things. There's a lot that I've learned that I have to bring to the table. And that's difficult for them to really be able to see me in the light of who I actually am now.
Right.
And I can't wait on them to figure that out. I have to step into that role, and that's going to be difficult for them to adjust to, which leads us into the actual main topic.
Yeah, I have a question too. I'll go ahead after Stephen.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, I know me as a man, you know, as long as my kids are, you know, if something were to happen with me and my wife and my kids are still with them, I feel that it's still my responsibility to make sure that that ship is still running because my kids are still there. And obviously, it seemed like that's what you've been doing as well.
I'm a different breed too, but go ahead.
Okay. My question is, with you now being like in a new relationship, did that put any strain on that relationship? Because I understand that maybe your partner would be protective of you and try to, you know, shield or protect you from, you know, anything that they would see looking in on from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, let's go back. I'm a different breed because I came into the relationship knowing that I was going to be, I'm not going all the way into, I'm not telling all my secrets, all my business on here. But I will say this. When I got married to my ex-wife, she already had a son, and I knowingly stepped in to the best of my ability to be the father that he did not have.
Okay.
And I remember being at one of our undergrad, because I've been in undergrad several times, one of our undergrad experiences, they laughed. They were like, bruh, I can't believe you stepping into somebody else's role. I wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm like, well, you're not me.
Yeah.
And has that been hard? That has been hard. That has been very challenging, but I felt it was my responsibility to do that. That being said, I've carried that for 28 years and still to this day am considered the father.
Yeah.
Through it all. So when we went our separate ways, it was imperative to me that my commitment and my promise was my promise. I'm not going to negate that. I'm not going to change that. I'm going to stick to that. And I have. And so with that being my core values and my core intention, I think going into any relationship that was made clear, I know who I am and they know who I am, and you have to adjust to that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't. In this current relationship that I'm in, it is very good. And yup, there is a protective factor that is always present, and I have to de-escalate. Calm down. Yeah, you have to calm that down because I hear you, but this is something that I have to process through. And that's not to say that I don't value your opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I do value your opinion, and I am considering what you're saying, but your emotions aren't necessarily helping me, especially when you're not giving me a substantial answer to fix it. You're just expressing your emotion on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just emotion, let's dial that back and just help me process. That's all. You don't have to fix anything, and you definitely don't have to become more emotional about something than I am, because that's not going to help me. So I think and those are conversations that I've had to have. Yeah. Denzel, you said you had a question too?
Yeah, my question was geared more so towards your partner. Well, I guess Stephen, his was too.
Mine was as it relates to, you know, now you're heading into this sandwich generation, like you said, right? You're having to pick up more responsibility with your Asian parents. Man, I'm facing that same situation, right? Or I'm headed there rather. So I would like to get your perspective on what did that look like as it relates to your partner. What conversation did you have with your partner? Picking up more responsibility because of Asian parents, that dynamic, everything, a whole lot changes, I imagine. Maybe living arrangements, your time that needs to be spent with parents. I'm interested to find out the conversation you had with your partner, the expectations you kind of laid out, and also your partner's response. Because, pretty soon my wife and I are going to have to have that same conversation. Our parents are aging. Her dad, he'll be 81. And, they're slowing down and, they don't live here. They live 2.5 hours away. So we
Same.
will soon have to have that conversation on, okay, these are my responsibilities. Hey, my parents are aging now. I'm going to need for you to be okay with this. I'm going to need, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I'd like to hear your perspective.
My partner has very similar situations because their parents are a little younger than mine, but still dealing with some of the same things. However, they're close by. They're here in Iowa City. So it makes it easier, and some things are already, some of the things that we have not prepared for, they did. And there's some ownership things that have to be addressed. There has to be some downsizing things that have to be addressed. And like I said, I am 2.5 hours away as well. And luckily, my position, I work from home, so I'm able to work remotely. So what I'll be doing is I'll be flexible. I'll go and I'll work from my parents' place sometimes. And we're in the early stages of this process. We literally, this conversation was just had last week. Just realized and had to accept the fact that things are not going to be able to be the same. And we have to reevaluate how we're going to navigate future. And when I say future, I mean within the next year or two, things have to downsize quickly. So that means that there's going to be a lot of work that's going to happen quickly. So I was able to discuss that in that moment, and my partner was understanding and was present for a lot of that conversation and saw the need and understood clearly. And because they can relate and understand the pressing need, because we're going to have to deal with 4 elders' lives that we have to be very intentional and cognizant of.
Okay.
So we're monitoring it. We're doing what we can, and we'll do what we can and cross the bridge when we get to them. Our parents, we've been blessed. We've been blessed to have both of our biological parents in our lives from the beginning till now. So I think that helps to frame what we're committed to doing.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I think it made it a whole lot easier on you that your partner was already able to relate.
Yeah.
Now, my wife and I, on the other hand, I won't be able to relate. My parents are roughly more than 20 years younger than her parents, right? So 2 different dynamics, right? But when that discussion is to be had, I want to make sure I'm present like your partner was, but also understanding of the situation and, realizing and understanding, hey, this is what I married into. I knew this when I married into the family that she was over the parents, and that this would be a situation at some point, So I just wanted to get that perspective from you, but from the lens of your partner.
That's about all I can say on that. I mean, haven't gotten into this whole concept. But there's 2 very significant factors that are affecting that process. And I don't know that we'll really live here too much in the podcast, but it is a factor. This is the first since my divorce and prior to the marriage. That's a whole another conversation. She was very aware of who she was marrying. We processed through it anyway. And at that particular moment, that was a choice. I'm glad that I did make that choice, but my sexuality has always been somewhat fluid. So that was a challenge that me and my ex-wife worked through, but it was never really something that my parents really had to process for real until this relationship. So,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Was that a process?
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
The process wasn't the relationship. The process was probably a little bit prior to the divorce.
Really?
The divorce and my stance after the divorce was like, this is where I'm at. This is who I am. And that's when my stance with church kind of shifted, because
Gotcha.
there's a lot of church and religious dogma that framed my concept of what I was dealing with when it came to my sexuality. And I had to come about 20 years ago, I had to come to my own realization about who God is to me. And that stance was difficult for a lot of my religious background, including my parents. So we had to process through that then. And then when it came to, by the time I got to this relationship, this is my first interracial relationship as well. So that was a factor that we have to consider as well.
Sure.
So, but that's we're a family. Like I said, this family's a family system, and that includes my partner. So, I mean, it's a lot to all of that. I don't know how much of this is going in the show, but we'll see.
Are you okay? You okay right now? Are you good?
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like, am
you I okay
good?
sharing all of this stuff?
Yes.
Or
are you good?
yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I don't mind.
Okay.
I knew what I was getting into when I got on this podcast.
Okay.
All right.
But the fact of the matter is that I think this is the crux of what's important, because being able to have brotherhood with differences is the essence of symbiosis, and understanding and getting the opportunity to communicate, and getting the opportunity to see different perspectives, and not sit in a seat of judgment, and be able to ask whatever questions need to be asked to be able to have full understanding. That's what it's supposed to be. The other part about it is, and I think that this is what inspired me the most to even want to create it. There's so much that we have to do in our communities, in the Black community right now specifically, in order for us to be not just effectively heard, but understood. In order for us to come together, we have to come together within our own communities. And we as Black men need to come together completely. And so in so many instances, in the past year even, I think I've noticed it more. Black men have a tendency to operate fragmented, specifically those who are of the heterosexual community versus anyone on the LGBTQIA plus or whatever side. And I don't think that there's a world where we can actually move forward effectively against those forces that are working against us without us working together completely.
Okay.
And we can expound on that a little bit more sometime, but I really wasn't the direction that we were going on this episode. Well, we went around, but I do think that we're still on the same subject.
Absolutely. Roles.
What happens when you're becoming no longer matches what the people around you expect you to be is the main conversation, supposed to have been the main conversation of this episode. What happens when who we are developing into becoming, it isn't who I was when I met my partner. It's not who I was when I was raising my sons. It's not who I was when I got married to my ex-wife. It's not the same. And their expectations of who I was going to be has shifted over the years, and it's shifting even now. So when all of those things happen, what happens when who you're becoming no longer matches what the people around you expect you to be?
That's a loaded one.
I know.
Loaded one. Certainly, I'm not the same man I am today that I was 10 years ago when I first got married, 5 years ago, or even just a few years ago when we first started the program. A whole lot of growth there, right? A whole lot of work has been done. I don't share the same outlook on many things, but honestly, I've let go on the expectations of others, because who I am becoming, I'm enjoying seeing the man I'm becoming, right? I'm enjoying this work that I'm putting in, become this man that I want to be. This man, this father I want to be, this husband I want to be, this provider I want to be. And as long as that aligns with God, and I think it aligns with God, man, nothing else matters. So I've let go of expectations and what others expect of me. As long as I am here, present, and being the best I can be, for my family, for my wife, for my son. Hey, man, that's all it is.
Steven?
For me, like when you say becoming, I'm thinking about possibly being true to myself. Like it's like all my life, even as a kid, you grow up, you're trying to make people proud, and you tend to do stuff that makes other people happy, not necessarily yourself. So my whole life has been trying to make others happy. And it's been to the point to where I struggle to know what happiness is. Even to this day, I am in a constant reintroduction. It's like I reintroduce myself to myself every day, trying to figure out myself and trying to figure out who I am. Because it's like I've been putting on this mask, I've been putting on this persona that like everything's been okay and I'm a very good actor. I deserve all the awards because I can fool you into thinking that I have it all together when I really don't. And I'm still trying to figure this thing out, this manhood thing, how to become a better dad, all of these things coming into play every day. And like I say, it's just like I'm still trying to figure out what exactly happiness is. Like, you know what I'm saying? You see me, you're like, okay, well, some people judge happiness by having materialistic things. Well, I have those things, but that doesn't really make you happy. You know what I'm saying? I have a beautiful wife, great kids, and I'm happy. But sometimes it still feels like, what, is this what it is? Like, are you happy? Like, what is that? So to be honest, I'm still searching for that every day. Now, the last couple of years of, getting closer with my wife, working on myself, so to speak, I think I'm edging closer to actually finding out what that is. So I wake up in a good mood. We can call it happy, but I'm still looking for that true definition of what happiness is because it's more than just being what I've been being. Like I said, like we talked about the last time, Howard giving me some sort of confidence, like pouring into me, being around other Black men, Black women, positive attitudes, trying to be successful, and everybody pouring into you. Like everybody didn't know that all of that was building me up. And that's why I've been missing you guys so much because like I needed that. I have friends, but most of my friends don't live close to me. And we don't talk all the time. Sure, we can pick up the phone and talk like nothing, no time has been wasted. But to have like true friendship, a brotherhood, meaningful conversations that help us grow, I don't get that much.
Same.
So I'm glad that this podcast is here because like I said, you guys are helping me. Like you're not giving me answers, but it's like when I hear things, it cuts on light bulbs and I can start to figure stuff out.
Likewise.
So that's what this gives me.
Opportunity to reflect on some stuff. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
what you
just said made me just reflect on a whole lot. You know what I mean? Because I'm still searching for that man I want to be. However, I'm still able to recognize, hey man, I'm not the same man I was 5 years ago though. You know what I mean? I'm still able to recognize the growth, the maturity, all these things. However, I'm still not there yet. And it's funny, Stephen, that you mentioned, we have beautiful wives, right? We have the beautiful families and this and that. However, we still find ourselves sometimes thinking,
is this it?
Yeah.
Which is wild, right?
Yeah. But one thing I like about, what I'm saying, this is listening to you guys and hearing others going through the same thing. You learn to give yourself some grace. And that's something that we don't give ourselves. We're our biggest critic. And I know I am. But it's so good to hear, others come around you and be like, hey, man, it's cool. It's okay. I'm going through it too.
Right.
And who knows? They may say something to help you. You may say something to help them,
What's so crazy is I don't know how many times a day I tell my clients, I tell them, give yourself grace. And however, I don't give my own self that same grace. You know what I mean?
And I'm constantly telling people, I tell my partner all the time, grace. And he be like, that bitch.
It's crazy. I'm able to affirm others. I'm able to build others up. However, when it's time for me to affirm myself, where is it? When it's time for me to give my own self grace, where is it?
And look, give some of the best advice. Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Give some of the best advice, but won't follow your own advice.
Look. Yeah. I have that bad.
I'm doing it right now, but we're not going to talk. Let me ask you this. Are Black men allowed to evolve?
Certainly.
Explain.
I mean, if we don't evolve, we're doing something wrong, right?
Now, mind you, keep in mind the line of questioning that we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about being transparent and vulnerable and growing in these areas. And you were just talking about, Stephen, how it gets difficult with the expectations sometimes to shift how you process. And so you have to wear a mask, you have to act, and you have to do all those things. Why are we having to act? And if it's so okay for us to evolve, then why do we have to do that?
That's tough, Ann. I mean, historically, that's what Black men, that's what we've always done, historically, wear these masks. Because we weren't taught that it's okay for us to be vulnerable or express these emotions or have this soft spot, right? Historically, that's what Black men that's what we were taught. And to this day, a lot of Black men are still being raised this way. And this is why I'm very intentional in the way I'm raising my son. You know, my dad, he's straight by the book. You know what I mean? No nonsense, straight by the book. So I'm very intentional in the way I'm bringing my son up on, hey, son, I love yous, and these hugs and these kisses and embracing him. Hey, at 6 years old, he's able to tell people what I do for a living. It was funny. His cousins visited last weekend, and his cousins were asking what type of work I do. And he tells his cousins at 6 years old, he says he works at the jail and he talks to people about their feelings. And I had to look at him like, you know what, that's what I do. But what I'm so intentional on letting him know, hey man, it's okay to come to me and express yourself. Talk about your feelings. You know what I mean? It's okay to cry. I was brought up that boys don't cry. You know, you have to be a man. You have to be tough. But that's not it. But going back to what you just said, I want to hear Stephen's perspective on evolving, because you hit me with that one, right? That's a tough one.
I think we can evolve, but I think that possibly our community and society has kind of crippled that growth. Take, for instance, the other day I was looking on social media and there was a post, and this guy called his son handsome. And the other kid looked at his dad and say, Dad, that's gay. Huh? How is that gay when you tell your son, hey man, nice looking young man? You know, all of these feelings. I can't tell my son that I love him. I can't give him a hug. I can't kiss my son on the jaw and tell him everything gonna be all right. That makes me weak.
Mm-hmm.
Our society has made us think that we can't be in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has hurt us so much. What would have happened to some of these guys who have gone out and gotten in trouble if they had a positive male in their life telling them they love them, encouraging them to
Embracing
do things. Correct. Like I tried to do my part, even with young men that I didn't participate in the birth process, you know, in having them here. I try to let them know that, hey, I'm a positive Black man and I want you to be the same. I love you. I don't know you, but I love you and I care about you doing good in life. I care about you being a good person. So I try to lead by example, whether it's my kid or whomever. But I just think that we can evolve, but I don't think we've been given that space to. It's weak. You know what I'm saying? You weak.
Yeah.
If you can't handle all of this, you weak.
Yeah.
You can't take care of all of this, you weak.
And me knowing that, Stephen, right? Me knowing that without a doubt, and me having that perspective on that's the wrong view, I still catch myself. I still have to correct myself sometimes. Like my son is only 6 years old, right? Even when he was 5 or 4, he falls, start crying. All right, boy, that's all right. You okay? However, I have to correct myself and check myself. Like, no, man, embrace him. Find out exactly what's going on. Tell him it's gonna be okay. If I had a little girl that same age, I would approach that totally different, right?
Yeah.
So why am I doing this to my son?
Yeah, we got to look at it, man. Like when we do those things,
Yes.
they're going to replicate that.
Yes.
So you're going to look at your grandchild one day and he's going to be getting the same thing. And what you going to do because you're a grandparent? Oh, no, don't mess with that baby.
Exactly.
No. You're going to want to shash-sham, as they say around here.
Yeah. Shash-sham.
You don't want to do what?
Shash-sham.
See, that's that Louisiana, huh?
That's it. That's it.
That mean?
Basically, you know, you baby
okay.
him, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know the grandparent going to come to the rescue. You know.
I appreciate that.
Come on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Am I going to get a lot of this education as we go?
Oh,
This is
absolutely.
Louisiana. Okay.
When I drop some
All right.
words, you look, pause, be like,
We're
hey,
gonna
man,
pause.
what that
We're
is?
gonna pause you
Yeah.
and find out
Yeah.
Louisiana
And we're
slang.
gonna let you
Okay.
process this.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna chime in on that because I think that I tell you what, as I came into this episode, I knew that I was dealing with some personal issues myself. And knowingly being a part of this here 3-person hosting situation, I know that I'm probably one of the if not the most sensitive of the bunch. I had to tell myself, boy, don't you cry on this daggone podcast, don't you? And I thought about that. I actually thought about it. I was like, why not? Why would you not be open to and willing to be transparent and cry? And we will. I know that we had some moments where I had to pull myself together during the demo group. And if we navigate some conversations the right way, you may have to pause and give me some tissue. But the concept is still there because as men, I think there is a certain sense of strength that we are supposed to exude and carry. And I don't think that crying defines our masculinity, or being sensitive to emotions defines masculinity. I think that that's what has to change. And that's what has to evolve in our communities before we can allow it to be acceptable for Black men to evolve. I said I wasn't going to chime in, but I guess I did. Let's shift a little. Can people love each other and disagree? Can you love each other and disagree?
I think that's another one that we do every day. Yeah.
Give us an example, Denzel.
Especially when it relates to this political climate, right? I don't think we've ever lived in such an era in which people are so passionate behind a certain side or so passionate behind a certain leader. Have y'all ever witnessed anything like this?
No.
Okay.
I don't think that there has been a time when, not in our generation.
We see the flags and we see the hats and we see the shirts, and man, the president is one particular man. He can do no wrong, right? And his flock will stand behind him no matter what. However, since this has all come about, I've realized, I've had some church members and some acquaintances who I do love, church members I do love, but I've realized that they align with a certain side, right? A certain,
ideology, sure.
Right. But I still love them for who they are. However, we've had a whole lot of disagreements. We've had a whole lot of back and forths on what they think is right, what they think is wrong, and vice versa. But that doesn't take away my genuine love I have for them. And we have to be careful to respect it for what it is and kind of call it quits before it gets too hot and heavy, and kind of shut it down. But we've had some tense conversations with some of my neighbors, church members, things like that, who I actually, I love these people, right? However, we share two completely different ideologies, viewpoints, and so forth. And that's that. I love them. However, we have all these disagreements.
I think we can't love people that we don't agree with or we have disagreements with. I'll take it real close to home. I got some family members that I don't like. However, I love them. There's some people you probably just not gonna G with. I love you, but stay over there. If you need me, I'm there. However, we don't have to be all close all the time.
Okay, I got you.
We can love you from a distance. I promise you. But I guarantee you, if you need me, I'm there.
Yeah,
I'm there. But
and I do have that family that I have to love from afar. So I do get it. I love you.
And that's okay.
But I have to love you from afar.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That is okay.
What happens when people that you actually are anticipating to align with more consistently? Let's say it's your spouse, or it's your children, or your parents. What happens when the way that you're viewing things has grown and that growth creates the distance? What's that smile, Stephen?
No, that's something you got to work through right there.
Yeah.
That takes work. And that's when the real love comes out. Because once you get into those rooms right there, it's real easy to get cut off or cut the other person off completely.
Buddy.
Completely. because your ideologies may have changed, so that really takes work. You don't find out if you love that person or not in that room. You maybe think about some stuff, but yeah,
that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, what makes you think that I'm going to simply accept what I can't accept anymore? I have to be clear about who and where I am and where I'm at in my life. And if I have not been clear about it, let me help you understand. This is where I'm at. And you tell me, I don't know, I don't care. And that's where sometimes we were just talking about dealing with people who have different political standpoints. Yeah, I can respect your political standpoint, but when your political standpoint says to me that I really just don't care about your well-being at all, that means that you don't really care about me. You don't really love me. So, and not everybody falls into that category. It's definitely a conversation that probably would need to be had, but that's the challenge, because you really can leave me in a place where I feel not only disrespected, I feel devalued. And if you don't value me as a person in general, how can I trust that you just really do love me and have my best interest at heart?
Boundaries are healthy. That's what we learned.
Yeah.
Boundaries are healthy. You put those boundaries up. Hey, if they cross them, hey, it's a consequence if you cross that boundary.
That's good.
That's a tough one, Ant, because
If your values don't align with mine, or even deeper, if your values devalue me, I mean, how can I love, respect you, or share the same space
as you.
I think I can still share the same space with you, but love, with love of God, I can do
Love
that.
of Christ. Love of Christ.
That's it.
I can do that. But as far as like brother to brother
Right.
type, I don't know that I can do that.
Because over the past several years, folks have shown us their true colors. They've shown us where their values align. And in many ways, those values devalue a certain group of people. And many times it's those people that look like us. So, I mean, how can we
Definitely it's hard. It's definitely challenging. So then that lends to my last question about it. What would you say growth costs, and what does staying the same cost?
Short and simple, growth cuts out the bullshit. So what it is to me, you coming true to yourself, and you just don't want to deal with the bullshit. The older I get, the less bullshit I'm gonna deal with.
Hey, that's almost like drop the mic. You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the same sense, what does staying the same cost us? Like you said, though. And that cost us a great deal, right? A whole lot of missed potential. It costs us the unknown. And that's what I fear alone. What's out there that I could accomplish, that I could reach, that I don't know about. The unknown. That's a scary thing.
I also call that comfortable. Yeah.
You have to,
because greatness lies outside.
Exactly. And so if you stay in the same situation because you're so comfortable, or you're so, I'm used to the same routine, or I'm happy where I am. I hate to think about, 5 years from now, what this potential, what could have been, what could have accomplished had I stepped out on faith, had I taken that leap of faith,
There's so many opportunities because of that.
And I've told myself, no more.
I'm not
willing to do it. Man, this move, guy.
and I'm going to say this for a different time because this is pretty lengthy. But this whole move my wife and I did, man, this was completely stepping out on faith.
I heard that last week. I heard it.
Completely stepping out on faith, man. If I had to run it down to y'all on how much we had to step out on faith, it's pretty wild. Some of the decisions we made, looking back, I'm thinking, man, I was kind of crazy. However, I put my faith in God that it would all work out. Man, from, listing our house, right? We put our house on the market. We listed our house. I hadn't even obtained a job yet
here. And we had listed our house. But I had so much faith in God that he was going to work this thing out, And we're going to save that for another episode because it's a whole lot.
My wife has these little quotes that come through sometimes. I ain't going to tell her, but they make total sense. She said, in order to truly be successful, you got to be a little bit delusional.
And hey, Stephen, that is a fact. Because, looking back at some of the decisions I made as the man of the household, when it all boils down to it, I'm responsible, right? God's going to look at me. I'm the one responsible. You let this happen. So when I look back and I see the decisions that were made, I'm like, man, I was kind of crazy for,
Yeah.
for making some of these
Yeah.
decisions, right?
Like a fuck.
However, now and say, had we not stepped out on faith,
Yeah.
right? Had we not trusted God, I wouldn't be here today, and we continuing on this progress, right? But
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. I don't like to think about the unknown or what could have happened. No, I'm at a point in my life. Hey, man, I want to step out on faith. I want to see what's out there for me.
My partner has been saying for the entire time that we've been together, it's a faith walk. Every step is a faith walk. And I can honestly say that stepping into these roles that we have recently stepped into in the past year or so, and I'm speaking for all of us from this conversation that we just had, that's what it sounds like we're doing. We're stepping out on faith and trusting what has been instilled into us from previous experiences, from learning the roles that we've been walking in and learning the roles that we're walking into. And we're trusting the things that we've learned and the things that we're looking to accomplish. And it's a faith walk. And we believe in what we're doing and Howard social work prepared individuals that we've become. We're believing in that. And that goes back to the last week's conversation about pride. So sounds like we're going to have a running thread that keeps the continuity going. So this has been awesome. Let me ask you our recurring question. What has sustained you?
Okay, I'll go first. This week has been very trying, and I'll get into some of that stuff later, but life just kind of punch you in the face sometimes. And it's cool because I learned to get back up and fight back. What has helped me this week? I told you I like to exercise the last time, but I love to just walk, and I'll walk. And this week I have Ty Tribbett has some nice upbeat music sometimes, and some good praise and worship music. I love the Yahweh, and that just put me in a place to where, like, I get chill bumps right now. Like, it's like I just know everything is gonna be all right because the storms ain't gonna be always like this.
Storm never lasts too long, brother.
Right. So I know the sun gonna shine and all that. So me just simply getting on my treadmill and walking and playing that music, blasting that music, it helps me prepare my mind for the day because I'll get up in the morning, I'll get my workout in, and if I have time, I'll get me another one in later on in the day. And then that's my strength training. So then I get to push away all of the stress and everything that I've had throughout the day. So that's what has sustained me this week.
Yeah, go ahead, Denzel.
Man, I'll be honest, man. I truly can't identify what has sustained me this week because it's been just one of those crazy, busy, just exhausting weeks, man. It has not been a good week for me as it relates to self-care. So, man, look, honestly, I don't know if I'm coming or going. I really don't know. Look, it's
That's
been
honest.
many times this week. I couldn't tell you what day of the week it was. If
Yeah.
I'm not sitting in front of my planner, I don't know what's going on for the day or tomorrow. It's just been one of those weeks. So I can't identify what has sustained me this week because honestly, man, I've just been everywhere and that's not very healthy, but that's
No.
the honest truth.
And I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah, I really don't know if I'm coming or going right now. That's just how crazy this week has been. But I'm going to get it together, man. I'm going to, like I tell my clients, practicing self-care and how important that is. I'm going to, follow my own advice. But yeah, that's where I'm at for this week.
Do you need anything from us, Denzel?
Man, this right here has been therapy for me. This platform right here, this
Good.
time with y'all. So this is as tired as I was, Stephen. Before you logged in, I was telling Aunt, man, I just woke up from a nap. I set my alarm clock 30 minutes prior to the time this was supposed to start, just so that I can have some type of reboot, some type of recharge. But that's how it's been this week, man. I just needed just a little nap. And it was only about 45 minutes, but it did something for me.
Yeah, same here.
However, being in this space with y'all, it has given me a boot or some reach or some charge, if you will. So, after I log off of here, man, I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to go hop my bike, man, and go ride the trails, man, and just take it all in. But had I not logged into this platform, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? So I appreciate this space and what it does for me, and also what it does for y'all. How I've shared.
Appreciate that, man. And honestly, I'm going to match you right there. I'm not sustaining particularly well this week myself with carrying the concerns about my parents and concerns about my sons and concerns about my ex-wife and work and building something meaningful with Symbiosis and my LLC and all, the different things that I've got, the different projects that I've got going on. That's sustaining me, but that's a lot,
Yeah.
What sustained me is connection. This here. So I'm almost mad that I had you go before me, Denzel, because I feel like I'm reiterating the exact same things that you just said, but that's exactly how I'm feeling. I got a text from Steven this week and just letting me know I'm not alone. You know what I'm saying? And my bro had my back. And I was greatly appreciated. He didn't know how much, he didn't know that I was going to bring this up. And just knowing that he had my back in the moment was sustaining.
Sure.
That helped to carry me through the rest of the week a bit. So having conversations with y'all, having meaningful work to pour myself into, I guess said that last podcast as well. And the belief that we're building something that matters, that's sustaining. And the problem with that is some days that's enough. And some days it feels like it's barely enough. But right now, that's what I've got. And I think that I'll be working towards finding more resourceful outlets. I have not been acting since I think the earlier part of the year. That's oftentimes a source of sustaining for me. I do get a chance to, go and sing and gig, but it's all intertwined together. So it gets murky as to what's sustaining and what's work. So that's challenging. And I need to find something that is just really something to be intentional about self-care. So I got to do better about that myself.
And we can't just say it, man. We have to actually do it.
We got to.
And especially this month being Men's Mental Health Month, man. Just look, dude, be patient with yourself, be gentle with yourself, give yourself some grace, but also just don't say you're gonna do it. Go actually do it. Be intentional with that self-care, man. I know this is something I'm certainly gonna be working on, and I encourage you to do the same. You got a whole lot on your plate, man. So certainly I'm praying for you throughout, everything that you are facing right now, and reach out whenever and here for you, certainly.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And I will.
It's a lot, I'm sure.
Well, y'all know my phone always on, so if y'all need me anytime,
Yes, sir.
shoot me a text, call me. If you need to vent, I'm going to listen. If you need me to help you find a solution, we're going to sit there and work through it. So I'm here for y'all, and that ain't going to change.
Likewise.
Same to y'all.
Yes, sir.
On that note, I'm getting off of here, so y'all ain't going to have me crying on this joker. I'm not doing it. Thank y'all for coming and hanging out with us on Symbiosis. We appreciate y'all. And we appreciate all the love that we're getting too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So many people coming out and just saying that they,
Appreciate
are professors and cohorts and all of that stuff. I'm looking forward to having these conversations. Hopefully we got a neat one happening next podcast. And all the love. Appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. You got to get on up now.